Hello and welcome to this educational video that will help you learn how to audit database changes with the help of CA Log Analyzer tool. In the next few minutes, we shall discuss the given problem in more detail, review how key features of Broadcom CA Log Analyzer can help resolve the stated problem. As a database administrator, chances are you have numbers of DB2 subsystems to be managed and monitored. Each of those subsystems is being accessed, altered, changed by hundreds of applications and users every minute. They might be touching or editing data, altering, deleting, creating a variety of objects on a regular basis across the board. Equally, all of these actions must be closely monitored and audited for both business, regulatory, and legal purposes, which require data integrity and transparency. Such increasingly complex activity network often leaves no room for manual element, so you need a tool that will help you audit any changes, which is exactly what CA Log Analyzer can help with. For our scenario, whether that's a CRITSIT or a legal audit requirement, let us imagine it was suddenly discovered that one of the critical tables containing sensitive data was corrupted. You also need to know if any object modifications occurred and rebuild the exact actions involved. We shall use CA Log Analyzer summary and detailed DML and DDL powerful reporting capability to audit those changes. CA Log Analyzer, as the name suggests, is a complete analysis and management tool for the DB2 active and archive log. DB2 logs contain a record of every database change, and Log Analyzer takes great advantage of that. Although the log is where the magic happens, it is not the only source. The tool will also look at image copies, bootstrap datasets, DB2 catalog, and other sources to obtain information if needed. So going back to the problem we're trying to solve, let's see how it helps in this situation. Essentially, everything we need is already there. We just need to give our criteria to the tool. To do that, we need to inform Log Analyzer about the criteria we want to apply on the reports it will generate. For that, we shall go through a range of Log Analyzer panels where we can specify those options, such as report, filter, most importantly, log process specifications. It will then generate a JCL job that will analyze the indicated sources and produce a readable report of our choice. Log Analyzer offers a great variety of multiple report formats with full range of analysis, including totals, summary, and detailed before and after row images. For today's case, we are interested in two of these, which are DML and DDL in red and pink here. So for DML reporting, it has quite a few use cases around your data changes. And we are looking at the activity and journal analysis, such as I want to know how many and which changes this or that user incurred on any object that we specify, and so on. It is also fully customizable to your needs, which is exactly what we're going to take advantage of. The DDL reporting, in its turn, is great for table definitions and structures, which change over time to support business. And it probably will be necessary to extract and store those changes over time. DDL reports allow to report, replicate, or undo changes done by DDL statements. Like with DML, you have the numbers of activities based on URID you can also replicate and run undo or redo in case any objects were modified unintentionally. Our mission is to report on data and schema changes, which will be achieved in 4 reports, 2 DML and 2 DDL, to show 2 levels of info. The first of which will give you numbers and stats, and then we will run this again with other options to give the full detail. Let us now jump into demo on both of these reports. We start at CA Database Management Solutions for DB2 for ZOS main menu and type X to select Log Analyzer. For the purpose of this demo, we shall select option 1 for one time off log process. This is the report specification panel where you select the type of report. For this demo, we shall start with select DML activity. We shall first run summary report by DML redo, followed by DML redo SQL with details. This is the DML activity reports landing page. It allows you to specify a lot of options for your reporting. Output format allows you to select the output format, whether it's a report, a redo SQL, or else what. Level of detail lets you determine the amount of detail of the output, such as summary, detail, total number of actions, and etc. Log data filters allow you to narrow the scope of the output. For example, you may want to specify the table or the auth ID, which you indicated by typing I, and get prompted to the following panels. So in our case, we do know the table name, and we shall specify that. Miscellaneous options allow you to specify anything extra you may want to include. To run the report, we select option R and S. This combination will generate a summary report of activity and number of operations for each URID. This is a very important panel where you specify that log range and source info you want Log Analyzer to look at. We specify the date because we know the time window we want in our scenario. You could also use RBA or RSN information if you'd want to, or create a log label. We now need to provide some output specifications. You need to give a name to an extract file. These variables are resolved at runtime. The same applies to the control file. And last but not least, we need to tell Log Analyzer where to put the generated report. So it's either a dataset, a sysout, or a terminal. We select the dataset and therefore we give it a name. You now need to select the execution mode, and we select batch. At this point, you also have a chance to review and update the previously selected options if needed. You can tweak your report, source, or output specifications we saw on the previous screens. Here we provide JCL specification. Most of the panels will be pre-populated. The one we need to select is destination, where you select one of the three at the top. We select P to preview the JCL before submitting. We are now previewing the JCL that has just been generated. These are the snapshots of different portions of the same job generated by Log Analyzer based on our specified options for most of the reports, and that we shall also see in the next steps. The slight deviations will depend on the activity report options choices for each particular report. For example, here you see the report source specifications, which the log range was specified on the previous screen. Just below that, we see all of the selections we made on the DML Report landing page. We chose S for summary in the activity report options and excluded most others. On the right, you see the log data filter options that you might have included in our example here, such as include the table or the auth ID that we looked at earlier. So all of the summary of your choices is at the top of part of JCL in all reports. We now submit the job and proceed to the report output that shall provide us with the answers. So this is the DML activity summary report we got for the time and log range we gave to Log Analyzer, which is ordered by the unit of recovery. The URID section gives us plenty of information on where it came from, who did it, where and when, over which object, and the numbers for the activity done by the specific URID. And if we PF8, we shall see many more sections of the same format for all of the URID. At the end, we shall reach the full summary of all of the completed activities. On our next stop is DML Report with all the SQL activity. We now want full details of changes plus all of this SQL activity and statements. For that, we go back to the DML Report options landing page and select S for the output format that will redo SQL and D for detail. We now need to go through the identical panels of options we went through with the summary report and give Log Analyzer specifications. In our case, they remain the same, and we therefore shall not repeat them, but here is the reminder about what they are. So we submit the job and go to the output. Here is the DML activity redo SQL detail report output. As you can see in the presented portions of the output, the first two are generic portions of the Log Analyzer report's outputs reflecting the choices we made. It's detail redo SQL report. Again, we see it's ordered by URID and has the same level of information we saw before. On the right, we see the insert has been completed into the table we specified, what data and where exactly has been affected and in what way. We see how values were changed and where. We also see the table had an update in the left bottom corner with specifics of how and where the data changed. Like in the previous example, here you also have full summary of SQL statements generated. Let's now see how to use DDL reports for our problem. We shall first run object report followed by redo DDL with details report. For that, we need to select it from the main menu by typing S. Like with DML reporting, you have similar fields to specify your options in, with slight deviations in output format, level of detail, and data filters, as well as miscellaneous options, now offering grants and revokes for security-related changes, or binds and rebinds for changes in the Db2 packages, for example. We also specify DDL SQLID equals S, so when needed, SQLID set from schema from the logs. For our scenario, we select R and O to generate object-level reports on what has been done by each URID. Again, in this case, the options remain the same, so we won't repeat them, but here's the reminder about what the steps are. We submit the job and go to the output. Once again, the top generic portions of report output might already look familiar. It provides consistent information on the output type, like report on object, log range selected, summary of options, and filters like include, exclude. For the DDL reports, we also are presented with table filters that it's looking at. Let's now scroll down. This report gives us an overview of object changes with a summary description on what has been done ordered by URID. The URID section is of the same format as before. It gives us plenty of information on where the actions came from, who did them, where and when. We find that 2 tables were altered, as we can see on the right top corner. We scroll further and see that somebody also ran alter over the column name along with the privilege being granted. There might be more actions listed if you hit PF8 to scroll the real report. We see our object has been altered in quite a few ways. Let us now get the full details along with the DDL statements in the next demo. For that, we need to yet again start with the select output format and level of detail. To address our requirement, we select D for both. That will generate both the details and the DDL statements. DDL SQLID is again set to S, which means it will use schema from the logs. One last time, we'd have to go through setting all of the specifications for Log Analyzer, but ours remain the same, so no repeating. But here's the reminder: we submit the job to go to the output. Once again, the top generic portions of report output remain similar, with slight changes based on our options. We verify that we indeed run the DDL report with the detail and redo options. Let's now scroll further. Here we see the actual detail and the reproduced DDL statements that were executed. In the first report portion, we see the details of the alterations done on the table we found in the object report, supplemented with the details and DDL statements. We also find the same level of information for the grant. In such report, you will find full list of detail activities and object modifications based on criteria you specify. We have just exploited simple yet very powerful reporting capabilities of Broadcom CL Log Analyzer and found all of the data and structural changes in a corrupted table object. Thank you for watching this short video.